Hey homies, welcome to 7.3, where we're going to look at how we can apply our knowledge of percents and proportional relationships to solve a variety of problems. So first I want you to, let's review in the top right here what our proportion equation is, our proportion in our equation. So our proportion format is part over whole equals percent over 100. And then our equation is part equals percent over 100 times whole. Okay, so we're going to be using these to solve problems in 7.3. So now I want you to pause the video and read this question about Marcy and Kai. All right, so we know that Marcy got 2 different grades in the assignment, a 16 out of 20 and then a 16 out of 18. Kai says that since she got a 16 correct on both, then it's be the same grade, the same percentage in the grade book. We need to determine if Kai is right or wrong, and then how can we decide if how can we prove that Kai is right or wrong? So we need to be able to compare these 2 fractions. So we could say you could determine if Kai is right by finding equivalence fractions, proportion, and percent. So if you find that these are equivalent fractions, if you set up a proportion and they're equivalent, or if you find the percent for each one if they're the same, then Kai is correct. And we can do that by using these equations and this proportion setup. So let's do that. Let's find out what the percentage is for Marcy. Marcy is 16 out of 20 for the first assignment. So part over whole, 16 over 20 equals percent over 100. Now I'm going to set up a proportion for the second one, 16 over 18. 16 over 18 equals percent over 100. Okay, now I want you to go ahead and cross multiply and divide and see what the 2 percentages are. All right, so when you cross multiply and divide, you see that the first assignment she got an 80%, and the second one she got an 88.9%. So is Kai right or wrong? Of course, Kai is wrong. So go ahead and write a little sentence here saying that Kai is incorrect and explain why. All right, so your explanation looks similar to mine. So Kai is incorrect because Marcy got an 80% on the last assignment, on the first assignment, and then 88 on the second assignment. So as long as it sounds something like that, you are good to go. All right, pause the video and read number 1. All right, so you read number 1. We're talking about 7th grade and 8th grade dance attendance at a 7th grade class year, end of the year dance. Numbers 1 and 2, we're going to set up a proportion. I'm going to do number 1 with you. You're going to do number 2. So here we go. So of the 307th graders, 246 decided to attend. We need to find the percent. So we're going to use a proportion. Part over whole equals percent over 100. My part is the 246. Of is my whole, that's 300, is equal to percent over 100. Go ahead and cross multiply and divide and get your answer. All right, so I should have put that setup spot in there. It's not a big deal. I just drew an arrow. When you cross multiply, you get 82%. So 82% of the 7th graders attended the end of the year dance. So 82% is your answer. Make sure you answer with a complete sentence, guys. I know it's crazy. It's self-explanatory, but make sure you're writing it and understanding what the answer means in the problem. All right, you read number 2, and you set up your proportion and solve. Go. All right, number 2, there's your proportion. I put it in the wrong spot again, so I drew an arrow. You should have gotten 750 students in total at Lee High School. Make sure you're understanding that 480 is not your whole. That's part of the total population at the Lee High School. So that's your part. That goes on top. We need to know how many in total are enrolled. So that's my X, my unknown. Cross multiply and divide, you get 750. All right, number 3, we're going to be doing equations for 3 and 4. Please make sure you're using an equation. You need to get practice with both methods. Okay, so remember our equation method is part equals percent over 100 times whole, where we're going to use a variable for whichever variable we're solving for. So here it says, if 480 movie tickets were sold on Saturday, how many were child tickets? We're solving for how many were child tickets. We know the percentage, but we don't know the amount. We know 480 were sold in total. So that's my whole. We're solving for part of the whole. So part, we're going to say y is my part, is equal to percent, which is 15, divided by 100, times my whole number. My whole number is 480. Again, I'm going to write here the equation again in case you don't want to have to keep looking back up there. Part equals percent divided by 100 times whole. Go ahead and pause the video and do this calculation. 15 over 100 times 480. All right, so here's your answer solution. You get 72. So 72 tickets were child tickets. All right, you read number 4. Use the equation, please. So you're solving for what percent of the farm grows potatoes. So use your equation, please. Do not use a proportion. All right, so let's go to number 4 carefully here. So we are trying to find out what percentage of the farm grows potatoes. So we need the part and the whole. The part is 32. That's the amount of potatoes in the acres, right? Whole, we have to add up all the acreage, which is 96. So 32 plus 24 plus 40 is 96. Then we can set up our equation. 32 equals percent over 100 times 96. We talked about in 7.2, percent over 100 is actually your K value. So I wrote percent over 100 is just my K. Then I divided both sides by 96 because that's how we get rid of multiplication with equations. And you get 0.33 repeating is equal to my K value. Now, we need a percentage, so we have to multiply our our decimal by 100. You always multiply your K by 100 to find your percent. So 33.3% repeating is my percentage of the farm that grows potatoes. There you go. If you're confused on number 4, come up here and talk to me. Please make sure you're comfortable with using an equation, please, before you move on to the back side of the notes. Looking at the back side, number 5, I need you to pause the video and read the boxes and read the question. All right, so you read the question. We're talking about Jed owning a music store. We're going to be finding the percentages for each of these instruments of how many instruments he owns. So first of all, if we're doing percentages, we need to know the whole number. So we need to know the total number of instruments. Go and add up these 4 different amount of instruments and then write the total here. All right, should have gotten a total of 500 instruments. So now we know our parts and we know our wholes. Find the percentage for each of these 4 instruments, please. Either use an equation or use a proportion, please. Go. All right, here's your proportions that are set up. 65 over 500 and so on. And you end up getting these percentages. So make sure you check your answers there. Make sure you match mine. If you didn't, come talk to me. This is 159, by the way. I just used the values that are in the table. All right. B says, based on previous sales, Jed determines that he would like to order 30% more percussion instruments. How many more percussion instruments should Jed order? So we're trying to find 30% of the amount of percussion instruments, and that's how many more he's going to buy. So again, set up a proportion and see if your answer matches mine. Go. All right, you have to be careful with this one because our whole number is changing. We're looking at just percussion instruments. So that's my whole number. That goes in the bottom. X is my part. I'm finding a part of the total percussion instrument population. So the cross multiply and divide, and you get 27. All right, C. After the order arrives, Jed has a total of 130 string instruments. What percent of his string instruments are new? Try to set up that one. Here you go. So 130 is my whole number now because we're looking at just string instruments. 65 was my original amount of string instruments. Cross multiply and divide, and you get 50%. So 50% of those new instruments, 50% of the string instruments are new. All right. I'm going to do number 6, but you can skip it. If you'd like to try it, to get some extra practice before you move on to the must do, then stay tuned. Keep watching the video to find the answers to number 6. All right, here are your answers and your work shown for number 6. So if you have any questions, come talk to me. Go do that mastery check and ace the must-dos and the mastery checks.